Welcome back to another week of Spotlight Arena. In the last couple of episodes, we took a look at the Arena of Valor International Championship that took place in China. When all was said and done, the Taiwanese team SMG walked away with the top spot and the $200,000 prize. This week, we're turning our attention to an event that took place in Europe. It's none other than the non-pro tournament finals at Dreamhack Winter. In our top 5 plays series, we've been witnessing the best plays from the main tournament. We've seen teams from France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Sweden and the UK go head-to-head for 5 weeks, and all of those games led to 4 teams making it through to the live finals at Dreamhack. Let's take a look at what went down. The first series of the day brought us Germany versus Spain. The Germans were undefeated during the regular season, so were favourites to win not only the series, but the whole of the MPT. To say the end result was unexpected is underselling it, and the best way to understand why is to take a closer look. In Game 1, Spain managed to draft an incredibly powerful roster with top-tier picks in each position. Germany were renowned for turtling well and winning later into the game, but the Spaniards weren't up for letting them reach that stage in the game. Following a few early game losses, the Spaniards established a solid goal lead and used it to snowball the game to victory before the Germans could even respond. The second game started off the same as the first, with Spain taking a firm lead. They were slowly stifling the German team, with no visible route to victory in sight until the Germans hatched a devious plan. With Spain focusing on the Darkslayer, Germany chose to go for an all-or-nothing play, a backdoor. With only Happy defending on Malok, 4 members stormed the base, catching the Spaniards completely off guard and turning a lost game into a clean win. Finally, we were seeing the late-game calls that the Germans had been famed for. I wish we could say this victory revitalised the German side, but it didn't. Spain came back even stronger in Game 3, learning from their past mistakes and leaving no room for error as they ended the game with a 15,000 gold advantage. Going into match point, it was hard to see why the German side were favourites to win, as it was a totally different side showing up at Dreamhack compared to the regular season. Game 4 was probably the longest game of Arena of Valor I've ever seen. At the 29-minute mark, the Spanish side cleanly dropped 3 members of Germany, but didn't succeed in pushing for victory. Their health bars were low, and with Memorized defending on Violet, it was impossible to get close to the high ground tower. After both teams had fully respawned and the game passed the fabled 30-minute mark, Happy made a huge mistake by diving too deep into the German backline. With some solid German efficiency on display, they dispatched of him in seconds and turned their attention to the 5v4 fight that they could now win. It wasn't clean and it wasn't simple, but the Germans prevailed and pushed down mid to end the game. Heading into Game 5, no one really had a clue what was going to happen. Had the Spanish learned from their previous mistakes, or would the Germans pull yet another victory out of the bag? If you feel like you've seen this before, you haven't accidentally restarted the video. The Spanish were once again taking the Darkslayer, whilst 4 members of Germany chose to go for an all-or-nothing backdoor play. The Spanish were much quicker to recall this time around, but Memorized had tons of damage on Joker. Despite having his ancestral glory popped, his team kept on slashing away until he respawned and landed the final shot that won them the series 3-2. It was arguably the most thrilling match of Arena of Valor we've ever seen. After everyone had taken some time to compose themselves, the second semi-final got underway. It was time for France to face off against Italy. The first game was much less explosive than last series. Both teams picked up a few kills here and there, but the French side were 100% in control. Their big play came when they picked up the Darkslayer at 7 minutes into the game. From there, they took Italy apart piece by piece until the 10-minute mark arrived and they decided that enough was enough. Pushing every lane into the high ground towers, they easily breezed past Italy to take the first point in this series. Game 2 was more of the same. 10 minutes in, the French side were in full control. With a 9,000 gold advantage, Italy got desperate and tried to force a fight. Their damage was nowhere near enough to deter the French, who cleaned up the fight, pushed into the base and closed the game out in just 11 minutes. If you assumed at this stage that the French side would win, you'd be correct. The Italians had all but given up at this point, and the French side took full advantage of their split team, taking 3 easy kills as they continued their full push in the top lane. Closing the series out 3-0, the showdown was set. France versus Germany. Would the Germans be able to catch the French off guard, or would the French prove too powerful and wise for the German team? For a while, it looked like the Germans would take Game 1. The French often began closing games out at the 10 to 12 minute mark, but Germany were doing well to keep them under pressure. After picking off 3 members, they looked towards the Darkslayer, but Switaro was plotting his revenge. Swooping in on Batman, he stole the buff and brought down 3 members of the German team, even ending the fight by bringing down Batman's nemesis Joker. In one play, he completely turned the game on its head, and the French side pushed forward to take the first game in the grand final. As we hit the 10-minute mark in Game 2, the French side were doing what they always do, starting to kick things up into the next gear. They secured the Dark Slayer and went looking for a fight in the mid lane. Switaro was split pushing on Zil, forcing the Germans to fight 4 versus 4 in the mid lane, with the Telanas staring them down. They were powerless to stop the crazy chip and poke damage coming out of France, who capitalised on the mistakes coming from the German side. Going to match point, Germany were on the verge of losing their first ever series in the whole tournament. Sadly for the Germans, this third game was to be the quickest in the entire finals. Demoralised and demotivated, the Germans didn't get a single kill in this final game, as the French side looked unstoppable. Diving into the base of their last few kills, France weren't going to let anything stop them from winning the MPT and the $50,000 prize that came with it. They may not have started the day as favourites, but it was impossible to deny that they were the deserving champions. And with that victory, 2017 drew to a close for Arena of Valor. The year saw some amazing events and fantastic players showing Arena of Valor in all of its glory. From the European launch in August through to Christmas, we've seen jaw-dropping plays, incredible prize pools, and pro teams flooding into the scene for what promises to be a very exciting year for Arena of Valor in 2018. Thanks for tuning in once again to Spotlight Arena. We'll catch you next time.